All right. Good evening. How you going, Liz?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you. Welcome back again. Great to have you. So we have a great question for you today. And before that, as you know, I always love to open up with asking you a little something about yourself. So I would love to know this week, what is it that you would love your friends or family or those around you to know or understand about diet culture that they don't?
Would love them to know is how damaging it is, actually, I think would be the main thing, because it is so part of our culture. It is just the water that we're swimming in, like it's the air that we breathe. It is so part of our culture that people don't even recognize it.
Yeah.
And so, all of the so-called harmless comments on people's weight and, just all the language we use and the beliefs, people just think, well, this is just how it is. And, and also it's so this goes into the question. It's so, diet culture is steeped in the medical profession as well. So we just have it from every angle. So I think what I'd really love them to know is that it really is damaging, that it erodes people's connection to themselves, their trust, their, connection to their bodies. It makes us chase forever moving goalposts and just, there's so much I could say about it, but I just would want them to know that it is incredibly damaging physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, all of it.
I agree. Yeah, that's really well put too. And you're right. I think people think it's quite harmless, like these little snippets of conversations about which, for us who are aware of diet culture, recognize it as diet culture or fat phobia, and we know how damaging it is. And there's a lot of evidence to show the harm that fat phobia, and weight stigma brings to people. So those people who are in larger bodies who carry around that weight stigma everywhere they go, they get so so judged from things. If my those around me could understand how harmful it can be, maybe they would feel differently about the words that they spoke and what messages they're giving their kids and everything.
Exactly. Like a simple, like, you've lost weight comment, how harmful that can be, really. Like, people just do not know. They think it's a compliment.
We have a great question this week, and it's one that is quite dear to my heart. I just really feel for this person, and I'll read it out word for word. I have recently learned that I have a health condition that could lead to problems such as diabetes or heart disease if not dealt with. But the only preventative treatment for me is to lose weight. How can I go about this in a way that is not damaging to my mental health?
It's a really good question. And again, first I will say I'm obviously not a doctor, but I definitely have thoughts on this question. And one of my initial thoughts is I'd love this person to go see a health at every size professional, just to get some more, just to get some more information and some alternatives. The issue I have with this question is not the question, sorry. The issue I have with the treatment plan, or whatever you want to say, that the doctor has said, is that weight isn't a behavior. And so doctors prescribe you need to lose weight. What does that even mean? First of all, there is no proven way to lose weight. Like, if there was, would there be this, would we all be in this position where everyone is just, the diet industry, is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and there is no proven healthy, effective way to lose weight. And so, we know that 95 to 98% of diets also fail. So when doctors prescribe this, they're literally giving someone a 2 to 5% success rate. And I don't say that to be disheartening, because I think there's so many things that we can do to support our health. And unfortunately, the medical profession comes from a very, very fat phobic model. And, I think the big thing I want to say about this question is that, given that we know that diets don't work, so what other options are there? And given that weight isn't a behavior, I think this is where Health at Every Size is amazing, because Health at Every Size actually focuses on behaviors that are going to lead to health. So whether that is increasing movement, obviously I don't know what the condition is that this person has the potential to develop, but will movement help? Will adding in certain foods help? Looking at your stress levels, will that help? There's so much that we can do to support our health. And I think we often go to the you just need to lose weight. And as I said, A, how does that even happen? B, there's no proven healthy, effective way to do that. C, you can lose weight in really unhealthy ways. And so how is that pursuing health?
Yeah.
And there's so much we can do, you know, just personally, I've got I have high blood sugar levels. So things like me, like looking at my stress, making sure that I'm moving my body. And when I do eat sweets, I often just will add like, you know, peanut butter to my chocolate and things to help regulate my blood sugar. So there are ways that we can look after our health that aren't sort of, you know, focusing on that weight loss.
Yeah. And that just, it brings me to a point where often when somebody does lose weight in their health measures and that increase, that often gets put down to the weight loss, but it's often the behaviors that have been part of that. So has the person increased their movement? Has the person explored options that serve their body better in terms of nourishing foods? Have they lowered their stress and things? So, and often weight is just a result of behaviors, and it just gets this, it's treated like it's the holy grail of everything.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And so and that's exactly right. Weight loss can be a side effect of behaviors, but it's not the goal.
Yeah, and that's what a HAES approach does, taking the focus off that. And I'm assuming that, you know, well, I don't know exactly a lot about, you know, the other conditions with this person, but if they have had a relationship with food that hasn't been great in the past, if they've had a history of dieting, then the worst thing that, you know, can be done in a lot of cases is to go on another diet, because what that diet can, you know, then result in preoccupation with food, preoccupation with body, you know, decreased mental health and anxiety, and physical, you know, physical health decrease. So also all the other stuff that goes along with dieting, which doesn't get, it's just treated as though that's the solution, that's the treatment, and that's going to fix everything.
Yes,
My
exactly.
other thing that I had a real problem with was, I'm wondering what this condition is that the only treatment is weight loss.
Exactly.
Because I feel that, like, what if somebody who, I'm assuming that this person is in a, not what the doctor perceived as a, you know, smaller body, so something on the BMI scale, which we know is quite faulty anyway, the BMI scale that is, you know, overweight or the O word. So I'm wondering what somebody who's in a smaller body would be given in terms of treatment if they came with the same condition.
Exactly. And it would probably be behaviors. Like, again, going with my blood sugar, you know, like kind of example, like I do have high blood sugar. Potentially if I came to the doctor in a larger body with high blood sugar, they'd say the same thing. You need to lose weight.
Yeah.
And so it's a really good point, because again, it's that fat phobia in the medical system and, you know, pervasive diet culture.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who wasn't in a larger body? You
Yeah.
know, and it would be move your body, watch your stress levels, you know, all those things I just said. And so we, you know, this is when we can see where discrimination is playing out in our medical system, not with everyone. And that's why I really encourage, you know, people to go see alternate, you know, just get more opinions, go see a health at every size doctor. But yeah.
Yeah, and I can recommend a great health at every size doctor who is in the inner west, and she's just wonderful. And just to clarify, like a health at every size, any health at every size professional has a duty of care to the patient, to the client, to just offer them information and just let them know that this is another way. There's not just the one weight loss approach. There is this other model which focuses on behaviors, and whether or not your body changes as a result of that is up to your body and your hormones and your history of dieting and all of that.
And I don't know if this is helpful. I sometimes think about it like almost like a gardener, you know, so like I can plant a seed and I can tend to the soil and I can water it. So for me, you know, I can move my body, I can give it water, I can do stuff that makes me feel good, but I can't control the weather and I can't control exactly how that plant's going to grow. And I think
wonderful analogy.
Yeah, I feel like for me that's helpful. Like it's, you know, it's like letting go where we don't have control. We can't control what our body is doing. We can't control all the hormones. There's so much we can't control, which is what diet culture doesn't tell us. It's this myth of control. that, you know, it's you, it all is in your control. So if you can't do it, you're defective, when we know that they don't work. And so, you know, we can control some of the behaviors, like whether we move our body, you know, how we talk to ourselves, like the food that we eat, you know, and I say that in a way of being variety as opposed to any sort of restriction. And I really think also, you know, thinking about what you can add into your diet is really helpful for people who have a history of restriction. I've got one other thought. You know, our mental health needs to be taken into account too. That is part of health. And so it's a really important thing, you know. For me, I know no matter what health condition I was to ever develop, I'm not good with restriction. It's just something I know about myself. And so it's like learning to navigate, you know, health, you know, so again, for me, high blood sugar without having to restrict. And so,
I think that's so important. It's like I think this is part of the problem with the weight-centric medical model too, is that there is no understanding of how somebody's relationship with food and history of dieting impacts their health now and their mental health, like you just said. And it's like somebody who had a condition that affects them from their past and bringing that into the doctor's office kind of thing. Like, actually, there's another really good analogy I picked up somewhere, and it's like prescribing somebody a diet for weight loss who has a pretty awful history with dieting or has had a disordered eating or full-blown eating disorder, and prescribing them a diet is like giving an alcoholic the prescription of drinking 2 glasses of wine a night, you know. And
Exactly. And we know, again, like weight cycling is actually really dangerous. It is dangerous for our health, the going up and down in the weight. And that is a consequence of dieting. And so, you know, again, like it's not just it's not a harmless prescription, going back to your first question about diet culture. It's actually damaging, because if you do have that history of dieting, if you do have that history of restriction and binging and weight cycling, and then that's a prescription to do more of that, it's actually really damaging. And
that's why it's so heartbreaking, because it feels like the medical model, they just don't get that side of it. And
there's no understanding of you know, the complexities of this topic. And so it's awful.
We could look, so much for it being like just a few things to say without having a big chat, but you want to is there anything you want to kind of sum up to round up that question?
My first tip would be just to get a second opinion. Like, ultimately your health is up to you, but I really would encourage this person to go see a health at every size doctor, because just to get a second opinion, you get a different point of view. The second thing would be really focus on the behaviors. So hopefully that health at every size doctor could talk about behaviors, because behaviors is what we can do, you know, that actually is, it actually gives us something to be able to focus on. And so that would be my next tip, to really focus on the behaviors. Will movement help? What can you add into your diet? And there's certain things you can do, like my blood sugar, where I try and eat chocolate like with peanut butter, like things like that, which help me. So weight loss isn't a behavior, so really trying to focus on the behaviors. And the third point would just to be really kind to yourself, because we're way more likely to treat ourselves with care when we're kind. And so again, you know, what you said before, when we're telling ourselves off, I mean, that's the shame cycle. That is what actually leads to a lot of the problems. So
it just keeps you perpetually in it, doesn't it?
Exactly. So just to be really kind. Like, this is challenging. It's stressful getting told that you're gonna, you know, that you're potentially could develop a diagnosis. So just be kind, compassionate, and treat yourself. I said this the other week, like you would someone you love.
It's amazing how much self-compassion and kindness comes up in this kind of work. But thank you for wrapping that up. That was really, really helpful. It was really lovely to have a bit of chat back and forth there. So I really appreciate it. Hopefully our member will have some value from that, and we'll love to have you back again next week.
Cool. Thank you so much.